research just came out showing that less high school girls want to get married and have kids nowadays than ever before. The Pew Research Center took data that the University of Michigan had collected that showed 12th grade girls did not want to get married at the same rate as boys their own age. They didn't also want to have children at the same rate as boys their own age. There was a huge drop from 1993 to 2023. That's just 30 years. And in 30 years, it went from 80% of girls polled in high school who wanted to get married one day down to 67%. That is a huge drop in girls in high school wanting marriages. And after they get out of high school, their brains are going to develop, they're going to see new opportunities, and it might be even less than this that want to get married someday. But this is the only huge disparity between the polls. There was no real change in any other thing that was asked of them other than getting married and having kids. There was a massive drop in the desire for children as well. In 1993, 64% of the people polled wanted children, and only 48% want children now. And again, it's probably just going to keep going down. To give it some perspective, Hocus Pocus came out in 1993. What a nostalgic time that was. This was back when it was pretty much only acceptable for women and men to desire to get married and have kids and have a nice little house and just live. That was the expectation of the time. Back when kids actually did go trick-or-treating, because they don't really do that as much anymore. This whole idea of a nuclear family is not something that really exists in a lot of people's experiences, even what they've witnessed in their entire lives anymore. The culture has shifted away from happily ever after. It's just not a thing that people believe anymore because they don't see it anymore. And they've also grown up to hear about the distressing situations that their mothers or especially grandmothers went through in their lifetimes and heard other warnings. It used to be normal to spank your wife. They had advertisements just freely saying that this is just a funny way to advertise this product. Like, if your husband ever finds out you don't test those coffee beans in the store, he might spank you. Imagine, our grandmothers lived in a time where they opened up magazines or newspapers and this was the acceptable advertisement that they would find. This was the type of mentality that was freely and openly being printed in newspapers. Do you still beat your wife? Maybe you should have never stopped. Wow. Here they're advertising a book that says why you should beat your wife. And they're telling you where to buy it. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Sarah Holcomb. I'm an ex-Washington, D.C. news reporter turned Chicago-based comedian, and I just spill tea on the news and the government. So follow for more if you want to see more of this, and don't forget to comment and like this video. Not only that, but women were just maids. I mean, what was marriage? Just to be a maid? Nowadays, do you know how much maids are getting paid? Maids in the United States get paid a lot of money to be a maid. They would consider getting a washing machine a holiday because otherwise they would have to scrub their clothes like crazy just to get them washed and dry them outside. It's like a whole process, and it would happen all the time. That was literally just a constant thing, was washing clothes. And they're saying, wow, now this is a holiday because I have a washing machine. Like, times were hard. And while women have come a long way in their understanding of what they deserve and their ambitions and what they can achieve, men have not changed because they have completely stayed the same in what they can achieve and their positions in society. They haven't needed to evolve at all. So they haven't gone at the same rate as the women have in regards to getting modernized, which is why now there's such a disparity in girls wanting to get married versus boys wanting to get married, whereas more boys want to get married now. They don't see that there needs to be a change. Let's get into why there needs to be a change even more, though, because this gets real intense for all of us. The American dream we were sold 30 years ago is just not attainable anymore. You cannot work a job and then just afford a house and a car and to take care of kids and to have a stay-at-home wife. That's just not a thing. And if it is a thing, please know that that's not the norm. You are not the average. A lot of people are just preferring to stay single because they can't attain this lifestyle that we were sold. There was a book that came out in 1931 called Epic of America that talked about the American dream and how we would have futures that were attainable for everyone, regardless of your background. But the author did mention that societal issues such as unbridled capitalism and growing wealth inequality would be threats to the American dream. And now here we are, 90 years later, seeing exactly the effects of that. It happened. We can't even attain it anymore. And that's only 90 years later. This whole rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as the foundations of the United States, that's not there anymore. So the question does arise, what are we if we don't have the foundation of the United States anymore? What is our foundation now? On top of wealth inequality growing expeditiously, there's also a black hole in the job market, especially for new graduates. You have to have something on your resume before you get a job. But how are you going to get something on a resume if no one will hire you even as entry level unless you have experience? Do you see how that doesn't make sense? On top of that, AI is taking over all jobs. I just saw the other day, even delivery. There was a little delivery robot in my neighborhood that was delivering food to an apartment. Like, they don't even need delivery drivers anymore or delivery people that are delivering it by hand. They're doing it by robots. Thousands of workers are being laid off constantly by big corporations in favor of AI. And there's nowhere else for us to go. Like, there aren't any jobs. The robots are taking them. These corporations aren't paying the robots, so they're just hoarding all the money they're making and not hiring anybody. So the wealth inequality just keeps growing bigger than it ever was before. Like, we thought it was bad before. Dang, like, imagine a bunch of people who are useless to society now because they can't work and they don't need them to work, and they can just put robots in their place. They're just gonna start killing us off, really. And because we have access to this information at our fingertips, a lot of people are pretty educated on the topic now, knowing that the job market isn't gonna be great. And there really is no way that we can rely on money coming in to take care of all these kids, or not even work and rely on one person's income in a market that is just terrible to even own a home. More and more women are financially independent, and their parents are actually encouraging them to stay that way instead of getting married and having kids. They like to see their investments blossom, and their investment being their child to blossom into being an independent person. They're not really thinking about, oh my God, my daughter's not getting married. They're thinking, oh, my daughter has a fulfilling life. I'm glad to see this happen, which is a huge change from when our grandmas were our age. I mean, the expected average marriage age was like 21 when our grandmothers were getting married. Nowadays, it's almost 40, like way over 30 years old. Look how much this has changed. Let me know what you think about this change in society in the comments. Also, like and subscribe if you want to see more Mad Hatter news like this. And I guess I'll just see you guys in the next video. Bye.